Thank you very much, Chief, and welcome everybody. I have to correct one thing he said. He wanted, if you want to see how bad the old building was, he'll give you a tour. But OSHA actually closed part of that building. You can't even go in there. That's how badly we needed this to be done. And I also want to, it's interesting that he said he's been here for 20 years. I have joked for years that it takes 20 years to build anything in the public sector, whether it's a school or a renovation. From the time somebody says officially in a meeting, hey, we got to do something about this, 20 years later, we're in it. So I would say we're right on time. So that's just the way it goes. Before I have a couple of remarks, but before I do, I'd like to introduce a few people that were instrumental and have really helped us along the way. Rich Straighten, my colleague from the Board of Selectmen, and thank you for being here. Selectman Zakowski couldn't join us today, but I want to recognize him too. Alice Hutchinson, former First Selectman. I was speaking with Alice about this. The planning for this goes all the way back to Judy Novacek, who preceded Alice and Alice. Judy launched the first needs study. Is Judy here? I didn't see her. I was trying to watch her. And the first plans for this building in this shape were presented to Alice. So that goes back to 2004. That's how long that this has been in planning and development. Representative-elect Rahab Ali Brennan is joining us today. Rahab? John Menti, Chairman of the Building Committee. I'm not going to mince any words. Every project has its problems. This had a few bumps along the way. John has put up with an awful lot, but he soldiered through along with his committee. I'm going to introduce the rest of the committee a little bit. But John, thank you for that. The scars on your back will heal. Tom Galliford is here, who is Director of Emergency Management Services and Chief of the Stony Hill Fire Department. Our CERT team is here, and I don't even have all your names. I'm going to say, CERT, stand up just so we can recognize what you do. I got to know them pretty well the last time we had a hurricane. We haven't had any for a while, so I forgot all your names, but they'll come back later. Brad Colts, who is the new Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce, is here. Thank you. It's not a profit-making operation. And then a couple of people who are not elected, but were very instrumental. Bill Hillman is here with us. Bill, along with Larry Kravis and Alice and a few others, formed a bipartisan coalition after the first referendum failed to really get behind this. So Bill, thank you for your efforts in that. So as we've discussed, this is a building that's been a long time coming. I have to pause for a minute. In the old building, every time we had an officer swearing in or any kind of a well-attended police commission meeting, there'd be people standing out in the hall. So when I looked at this room the first time, I said, we'll never have that problem. Everybody will have a seat. So we've already exceeded the capacity. I know, two times already, but it's wonderful that you're all here to celebrate with us. Public buildings are constructed not just for today, but for the future. And this is a building that was well thought out, well designed, planned long into the future. It's a building that will serve our women and men in blue for many decades to come. And it won't need an addition, so, even in here. So we're not even thinking about that. It's an asset to our entire community. I understand we already have community groups and nonprofits who have inquired about using this room for meetings, and that's certainly something that will happen, so we can serve the community in many different capacities. And there are a lot of people that worked really hard to make this a reality. I'd like to introduce them. On our police commission, I don't think Mike Duff is here, the chairman. He's coming later. But we have Dickie Kolwitz, Kevin Cleary, Amy Mannion, and Tony Rubino here. If you could just give them. And since this goes back many decades at this point, there are other people who have served on that commission who were always just as dedicated. The list, I don't even know who all those folks are. It goes back so long. Our building committee, in addition to John Menti, Nancy Ryan, John Perna, Dino Galtieri, Roy Steiner, Josh Adams, Victor Holomakov, and Rich Straighten as ex officio. We're here and have worked for years on this. Give them a round of applause, please. And of course, Sergeant Bob Durkin, who's over here. We always assign people from whatever agency is going to use the building to be the representative, voting representative. Sergeant Durkin followed Detective Jim Wright in that position and has worked for several years to make this building what it is today. So thank you for your efforts today. And then, of course, we have the folks who designed it and built it. I don't think Brian Humes, the project architect, could join us today. Right, I don't think he's here. But I want to recognize Dan Patrick and Ryan Patrick from Downs Construction. They're hiding in the back. Oh, I forgot to mention Amy Mannion on the Police Commission.
No, you got her.
Oh, I did? Okay. All right. I didn't see you over there. But gentlemen, Dan and Ryan, again, a few bumps along the way, but thank you for this. This is quality building, well constructed, so thank you for your efforts. And then just a couple of closing things. Captain Pugner, who is here, he's not really an official member of the building committee, but he probably spent almost as many hours as Sergeant Durkin. He was in charge of logistics and a lot of the details. Has done a great job on this, so thank you very much for your efforts. And of course, Chief of Police Jeffrey Finch. I have to say, Chief Finch is an outstanding leader, and anybody who knows leadership knows that a good leader has to provide examples for their employees, the men and women who report to them, provide mentorship, ensure the quality of the service being provided. But the other thing is that a good leader also has to turn around and fight for their employees oftentimes. So I can tell you that 15 years ago, when I at that time was chair of the Board of Education, Chief Finch came to me and the superintendent of schools and said, we would really like it if we could put a police station right next to the high school. Do you have any objections to that? And of course we said no, we think this is a really great idea. So here we are years and years later, and I can tell you that when I took office on December 7th, in 2009, on December 8th, the chief came to see me. I bet you can guess what that was. So Chief, I want to commend you for carrying the torch and making sure that your men and women have this great facility. And last but not least, thank you to our community. You know, through the trials and tribulations, I've said to people, every single project, and this is just true of the public sector in general, the way they work, every single project has had compromises, it's had problems that had to be worked through. This one had a couple of sticky ones, but our community, through everything, through all of it, came together and did the right thing. So thank you for that. Really appreciate it. So now I'd like to turn I don't have a microphone. I'll turn the podium back over to the chief, and congratulations on your new building.
Thank you.